Okay. Wiring harness time. uh, Not a big issue, but this car, when I got it, looked so freaking original. It's one of the reasons I bought it. It had the engine. I mean, I think it had the original spark plug wires. The wiring harness looked very original. It was not cut anywhere. Um, Other than, the burnt wire and stuff I've showed you. But so I started cleaning it up, and which is, just strip all this old hard plastic and old tape off, and then I go in and clean everything up. This you can just wipe, with rags and lacquer thinner. I sand all the ends so they look good, freshen all the ends up so they'll make contact, make sure there's no bad spots. And you just work on, you couldn't even tell what color they were before, but this will all get covered. But I undo it, and I check all the wiring, make sure there's nothing wrong anywhere, and just kind of get it in my head what goes where. Because you obviously don't remember where these things go. They just kind of snake in there. But while I was, the first issues that I was having was just figuring out what some of this stuff was. Like I said, you just strip everything, pull out the books, go to work. Had to fix a few ends. But this was that one that I replaced. So I just uncovered everything, ran new wires, and where I didn't have, I found an old backup switch off of some crap harnesses I had cut out of cars. And I'm not going to use it just because I don't want the reverse linkage hooked up to my 4-speed and that being dragged down. I could care less if I got backup lights. However, I did put everything in there. All you need is the connecting rod, and it's back that way if somebody wants it. Same reason I wanted to do this. Could have just cut that, been done with it, but I went to the trouble to get the right switch on the column. This will be there and labeled. If somebody wants to add it, fine. That's just, again, me being anal about doing stuff. I go through my parts, I pick out the better pieces. These are some trunk openers. It was on the car, but I don't know if I like that. For some reason, it bugs me to think you take this car and then you just punch a button and the trunk flies up. I'd rather have control of it. Again, I'll clean it, I'll put it all in there, I'll probably just disconnect it. If the next guy wants to take a chance on, who knows? I'd just rather have control so it's just not slamming. But that's that. So anyway, I've gone through, kind of labeled everything exactly what I think it should be. I started recovering, all this. This just gets hidden up under the dash. But what I was thinking about, I got to doing the front harness that plugs in to here. One side is your motor and everything, and this side here would be all your front headlight stuff. So there's the one side, and that's all. I'll get to cleaning this up, but this is all your alternator, and purple wire runs down with the starter. Easy. But I'm sitting here looking at the harness, and right here's what caught my eye. This extension for the turn signal light. And I have never seen that on a 79 Trans Am. I didn't remember it. It's just one of those vague memories. I'm like, this is odd. And since one was missing, it makes you think, well, I got to find the other one. Well, the more I look, anyway, it don't take you long to figure out that it don't even fit the lights. The park lights that go on the lower grill. Let's see if I threw those somewhere. I don't even know now. Anyway, they don't fit. So then you go looking a little more. Well, that extension light is 7778. So at some point, that old car had at least that much of the harness replaced. Everything on the cabin side looks right, which I don't know why it would be any different. But they had to, if they pulled anything out, they had to have pulled it out of a very similar car, because I had a guy, name's Don Bassman, runs East Coast Trans Ams. Great guy, got parts and things, and good guy to deal with. He offered, I called him up and was just asking him a question. He's like, yeah, but I've got some. And honestly, if you just want to trade, you just trade me. And he was, hell, he even offered to pay for shipping on his this way. You can't ask for anything more. And so two things. One, I've got a 79 harness, but it had been cut right at the bulkhead. It had been cut loose from here. And so it's only about 2 inches short. And I don't know if I did it on an old car. I may have, who knows. But I did it just because I wanted all the light connectors. So these are the correct connectors for 79, 80, whatever. And the wires are the same color as the one on the 78. So really, I could just either cut that, splice these in, or the harder route, I'll just completely disassemble both of those, and what wires I can use, I'll keep intact. It's not very confusing at all. There's basically only 6 wires there, and they split up. Grounds change a little, but I can build, I'll just build an original 79 using those pieces, and then just leave it the way it is, because the color on the wires is right, which in the future, somebody looks, you don't want it to be different. Anyway, Don was going to send me a picture, and I noticed all the colors of it were different. Well, what was different, you got to go look in the wiring schematic, figure it out. But the difference was, his apparently came out of a pulse wiper car. And when it did that, all the wires changed and the colors changed, and you got an additional wire for the pulse. And again, it's one of those things, it'll work, but I'm OCD. I want it to be right. And even making one out of the 2 I've got will look more correct and be more correct than the one with just an extra wire hanging there. Plus, if anybody goes to look, they have an issue with a wiper, they're trying to chase wires, they'll be chasing a yellow and red wire that don't belong on that car. So that's the reason you think ahead a little bit and want to do it, for future. But very odd. I mean, if this was changed, it had to have been changed 50 years ago for whatever reason. Now, the car had been in a front end hit, but it was just cosmetic looking, a little metal damage. It's odd. But at the same time, who knows? Obviously, the lights were never hooked up, because the light receptacles don't even fit in the plastic housings. So they weren't there, which explains that. But then the other stuff, like I was telling you, when I went to put, as a matter of fact, I just answered a guy this today. He was on the Trans Am restoration page and was asking which bushing goes where on the A-arms. And And so, you know, the longer one goes here in the front with the nub. But, and you've seen this before, this car has 1980 A-arms. And again, jump into my friend's resource from guys that build these cars, and that was the change in the later part of the year. They started, just like the rear disc brake stuff, they started running out of parts in 79 because they sold 200,000 of them. So they were using parts from 80. Everything was the same, except just in 79, they had two different size bushings, diameter-wise, and in 80, they went to the same. Why they weren't the same to begin with, who knows? But that, just like they did away with the WS6 rear ends, the disc rear ends, and they were making the cars, WS6 cars with drums and calling them WS7. That sounds right. So in the later part of the year, you've got mixed up stuff. But anyway, that's my day today in the wiring is, I think I'm just going to go ahead and take these apart. That way I've got the one that has the correct bulkhead already on it, which is this one. But that one was out of a 78. So I've just got to switch some things over, and then you get it. I'm talking in circles because I'm starting to think about what I'm going to do instead of talking to you. So anyway, that's that. Clean everything up. I went and bought all new plastic stuff today and wire loom and stuff, and we'll get these put together. And then, you know, and it takes time because, like I say, I take everything apart. I pull, you know, like in here, you can tell I've taken and cleaned every little connector because when I put them together, I don't want to chase stuff. And I've never had that issue. I'll go in and wire wheel everything, make little sticks with sandpaper on them to reach down in there and just sand stuff. Some guys I've got a set of files, jeweler's files. And then I have actually found some broken clips. That's why I keep a lot of, I've got extra boxes and things I've cut out of junk cars, because if you find like something broke, these are not hard to get out. You just have to tear up a few to figure it out, I would imagine. But I'll pull those out, spread them, resolder wire into it instead of just, you know, gunking it on there and dirt daubing or whatever. So it's as good a job as you could do. But there's so many to clean up. That's why it takes forever. But a good flat file, some very fine paper on a file, you can reach in there and clean those up. And thankfully, knock wood, I've never had an issue. But that's it. Still waiting on other parts, trying to order stuff, trying to find things. Same thing on the harnesses too. This is the one that came out of the car. And I actually had an extra one. So I'll go through, pick the best of these. Again, sometimes there's somebody cut a light that was just a light like that. And I'll just disassemble it, clean it up, and then test everything, because you can test everything. That's it. It's just divided as it goes down through here. So you got 6 different lights, but all controlled the same. I did run across another one, and it was very clean. But then I look at it and look closer, and that's the problem. You forget what you got when you dismantled a bunch of stuff. That one's out of a 78. So I'm actually going to send, like I say, this is probably going to be the last car I do that I go into this kind of depth on. And I'm just going to send, because Don, he's still doing it. Like I say, he's East Coast Trans Am. He's still building cars and doing things. I'm just going to send him all this stuff because he can use it, and I know it'll end up in a car. Same thing with a lot of parts. I've got a ton of stuff. You know, I've got WS6 boxes, 400 pulleys, 400 motor mounts, and that's just a small part. I've got a room full of this stuff, and I'm probably just not going to use it. I mean, honestly, if you see anything in my videos that you need, holler at me. I've got some 403 radiator supports. I've got, or not supports, I gave that away a couple weeks ago. Radiator shrouds, and just tons of duct work. If you're close to Ohio, holler at me. I'll send you. You can come by here and pick up stuff. That's it. I'll get to work on wiring, and we'll see you later. Alrighty, front light harness, all done. Got her all cleaned up. Got the new loom on everywhere. Kind of cleaned up the pieces as much as I could. Put new ends where things were cut off. And test everything. Cause 2 of these, you can't tell the difference in the wire hardly. And maybe it was that one. I mean, absolutely. Maybe I'm getting colorblind, but it looked like 2 black ones. No marks on them or anything. One of them was backwards. So as I'm testing to find out, you know, checking my ground from both ends, one of them I had the ground in here instead of here on the outside. And it was just simply 2 of those black wires I had swapped. The other one is pretty easy because it's blue and then brown. But man, maybe I'm just getting freaking old. But anyway, that's why you test stuff. So that's ready to go. The one is ready for the front of the car. I just ran out of loom, so I need to go get some more of that stuff. And then I'm working on the accessory pieces. Like there's the one for the tachometer. I have cleaned up the trunk release. Its wires are ready to go. Now I just have to clean the main harness. I've done half of it, but I've got to go back in and sand, just run a little file on all the ends and that. And one more accessory harness. That's for the courtesy lights. And I think nope, there's one more. Got it hanging up here out of the way. That was the dome light and the trunk. So probably another full day of just cleaning that stuff up, and we'll start putting her in the car. But just like everything, man, you just got to get rid of so much crap to make anything anymore. All right, time for dinner. Bye.